What is your VO2 max and why is it important for running? My name is Jack from Box Nutrition and Performance, and today I'm going to talk about what your VO2 max is, why it's important for running and how you can improve it. Quite simply, your VO2 max is your ability to take on and use oxygen. So we're really looking to see how good your heart, your lungs, but also your muscles are actually taking in and extracting the oxygen and actually converting it to energy. Although it's not the only thing that's important when it comes to running performance, it's definitely one of the key components. Imagine it as your lottery ticket or your key to the table. You can be a good runner without a high VO2 max, however, you're never going to be a great runner with a low VO2 max. So how is it actually important? Why is it important for running? Having a strong VO2 max will lead to an increase in stroke volume. Now, your stroke volume is simply how much blood you're able to pump around the body per heartbeat. More blood to the working muscles equals more oxygen. The second one is more capillaries. If you've got a denser capillary network around your working muscles, you're going to have a bigger area or a bigger surface area where oxygen can actually get into the working muscle. And again, if you've got more oxygen, you've got more energy. Higher blood oxygen capability. Now, again, if you've got more red blood cells, you're going to be able to carry more hemoglobin and more oxygen. Again, more oxygen. Remember, this is your energy currency. The other one is the number and function of mitochondria. Now, we know that mitochondria is almost like the powerhouse of your muscle cell, where the more that you have, the more energy you're able to produce. We also can actually look at the function of it. So if they function better, again, they can enable you to produce more energy. So we know that a higher VO2 max will improve these four key areas, but how do you actually go about doing that? Unfortunately, there's only so much you can improve your VO2 max, and you are somewhat limited with your genetics. So in this case, it really does help with picking your parents. However, we do know that the right type of training can actually bring about significant improvements in your VO2 max if you're a recreational athlete. The first one is your long, slow distance training. So imagine these sustained zone 2 efforts. Now, this is kind of typically between that kind of 60 to 80% of your max heart rate. However, the goal here is to kind of go for longer rather than harder. And this repetitive muscle contraction is a way that it can activate one of these pathways, which is going to stimulate the production of these mitochondria I was talking about before. The second one is high intensity interval training. And what we know is if you do this type of training, this is a very powerful stimulus to improve your VO2 max. And the way that you do this is work next to this kind of VO2 max intensity. And this really does help with cardiac output. So the amount of blood that you're going to be able to send to your working muscle. And typical intervals will be about kind of 3 to 5 minutes in length, and they'll have a work to rest ratio of about 1:1. So a really kind of simple example would be 4 minutes hard at that kind of 95% of your max, followed by 4 minutes recovering. So it's a really gentle, slow jog or even walk. So we know the importance of a VO2 max, but how do you actually measure it? The only real way to measure your VO2 max accurately is in a lab on a VO2 max test. Now, all you do is a simple ramp test where every minute the speed is going to increase, or it could be the incline, and we're looking to get to the point where you're taking on the maximum oxygen that you can. However, this isn't the only advantage of a VO2 max test. From a VO2 max test, we can also measure your maximum aerobic speed or velocity at VO2 max. And this is probably actually more important than the VO2 max number. This is because we can actually look at some pacings for when you put your intervals together. From these tests, we can also establish your anaerobic threshold and also base some of your high training zones off these figures. Not only that, we can get an understanding of your carbohydrate, fat, and also calorie burn at these different intensities. And with all this information, it makes it a lot easier to help you put your training plan together, but it also identifies any obvious weaknesses. Is your VO2 max high in comparison to your anaerobic threshold? Is it your threshold that needs working, or is it maybe your kind of fat burning that needs a little bit of work? A VO2 max test can help you. If you're interested in any kind of VO2 max testing, then make sure you check out the link below or head over to boxnutrition.co.uk.